little bit later. But let's jump to the NBA and stay in New Orleans for a moment, because this got interesting yesterday. Pelicans rookie Zion Williamson went through his first full practice since having surgery on his right knee back in October. Coach Alvin Gentry said there's no date yet for Zion's NBA debut, but Zion himself told reporters if it were up to him, he would have been practicing a couple of weeks ago. And I am delighted to bring my friend Jalen Rose is here.
Good morning, my brother.
Fella. Yes, my man. So I saw what you were saying yesterday. For those who've not seen your thoughts yesterday on the situation with Zion, I'm giving you the floor.
You got to redshirt the young fella. He's 19 years old. You see he has health issues. He's going to have weight issues because you can't really train when you have injuries to your lower extremities. The Pelicans' goals are gone. They will be in the lottery. Hopefully you get a higher pick. Just redshirt Zion Williamson. This idea, Greeny, and you know I hate load management, but this guy is dealing with recovery from serious injury.
Yeah.
And stop me if he hasn't gotten injured in high school, in college, couldn't perform in summer league, and can't perform for the Pelicans. You redshirt him, give him a chance to ease his way into his career like we saw with Joel Embiid.
Listen, I'm totally on your side, and I hate being right about this because you and I talked about this all through last year and leading up to the draft. I've never wanted to be wrong about anything more. But this is a guy who looks like this is always going to be a concern, right? I mean, do you see things? They're trying to change the way he walks. I mean, do you see reason to believe this guy will have the spectacular career we all hope?
And I'm glad you alluded to that. We did talk about this. Zion Williamson is the third heaviest person in the NBA. The other two are Boban and Taco Fall. Two guys that have never been a lot of things we describe Zion as being: quick, athletic, explosive. So for him to carry that mass, I think it's going to take him time to ease himself into his career. And that's okay. He's only 19 years old.
Oh, absolutely. If sitting out a year means that he will then go on and be healthy and have a spectacular career, then of course you sit him. If there was a cause and effect there, I completely agree with you. While I have you, let me get your thought on one other thing here. I want to get the latest on the situation in Philly. The Sixers have lost 3 straight. And when asked about the team's offensive struggles yesterday, Joel Embiid said a very interesting thing. He said, we've just got to look at ourselves and see what we can do individually. We've got to help each other, even if it means being outside of your comfort zone for the greater good to help the team win. Meaning that if you've got a space and shoot it, you've got to do it. We need everybody to buy into that, and we'll be fine. We're going to be fine. Was that a subtle shot at Ben Simmons?
It was. And it's not necessarily a shot, in my opinion, when it's a fact. I said when Ben Simmons got drafted that I felt like he was shooting with the wrong hand, and people thought it was ridiculous. I watched this guy play at LSU. When he drives to the basket, look at these highlights. He shoots with his right hand. But when he goes to the free throw line or outside of the paint, he shoots with his left hand. That dynamic is off. 90% of his shots are in the paint. That's your point guard, which means you're distorting the spacing for a post player like Embiid, for somebody like Al Horford who can get down low. And the Philadelphia 76ers are a poor three-point shooting team overall. They're going to need their primary ball handler to make some shots outside of the paint.
Well, look, as we work our way towards basketball coverage heavily here, my man Rostradamus, you were the one who told me 2 years ago, those two guys will not win a championship together. That in the long run, you can't put those two guys together and win the whole thing.
Because just look at today's game. How many teams other than the Denver Nuggets feature their big guy in clutch situations? That don't happen in today's NBA. You need perimeter players. You need wings that can make plays when it's 7-8 seconds to go on the shot clock. You can't give the ball to your point guard because he can't make jumpers and he can't make free throws. That distorts the spacing for him and Joel Embiid.
All right, we invite you to tip off your weekend and the new year with a terrific doubleheader tonight of NBA action. Jalen will be here. Joel Embiid and the Sixers will be in action against Harden and Westbrook and the Rockets. That's 8 Eastern tonight. And then you get LeBron and AD and the Lakers hosting AD's former team, the Pelicans, at Staples Center, and our coverage begins with NBA Countdown tonight, 7 Eastern, right here on ESPN. All right, coming up, this won't help the cause for Tom Brady. One of our analysts says the Dolphins exposed the Patriots' biggest strength in a way that will hurt them big time Saturday night. We will pick all the wild card games next. Get up on ESPN.
Prescott throws it in the end zone, incomplete.
I can say that, sure, we might have sniffed ourselves a little bit too much.
We know what type of team we have, and we haven't put that on the foot at all this year.
We had the chance, right? We had the chance throughout the season, and we just didn't get the job done.
Can you see yourself making significant changes going forward?
And I certainly can see myself making a lot of change in a lot of areas.
Our top story this morning, Ed Werder reporting that late last night, Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones decided they are moving on from coach Jason Garrett, who will not remain in the organization. That part of it had also been a question up until now. Let me bring in the former Cowboy again. Swagoo, Marcus Spears, they move on from Jason Garrett in this circumstance. Who do you think they should be looking at for their next head coach?
Gee, I'm not going conventional like everybody else. Tony Dungy. And I don't know if he'll come out of retirement to coach, but I think for the most part, let me explain why. Number one, he's a proven winner. I think we can all agree with that. But people would say he's been gone for a long time. This shouldn't be a conversation. Tony Dungy has guys all around the NFL that are still having a lot of success. I worked every Wednesday with Coach Jack Del Rio, who gives Tony Dungy nothing but credit for his coaching career, where we see Coach Del Rio now just being hired as the DC in Washington. And there needs to be a guy, and I'm not sure if Jerry will do it, but I think there's a moment of desperation here for him trying to get to the Super Bowl, of him saying, I need a coach that can come in my office with enough stake in the game to tell me what needs to happen, as opposed to curtailing and thinking that relationship, I'm going to do it the way Jerry wants me to do it. I'm going Tony Dungy. And now if you ask me about the conventional guys that we all are mentioning, the McCarthys, the Greg Romans, even the college ranks, the Urban Meyers or the Dan Mullins, my favorite one out of that would probably be Greg Roman. I love the culture that has taken place in Baltimore, and I love what he's done with Lamar Jackson. And I love the fact that he's coming from a John Harbaugh team that I've had a chance to be a part of as well with the Ravens. And I know how those guys like to develop, and I know how loose they are as far as having their team enjoy playing the game of football.
Phenomenal. Fascinating on a variety of levels. Have you spoken to Dungy? Do you have any reason to believe he's interested in coming back to coaching?
Gee, no, I have not. But
Okay.
I was thinking about this as we went along, and we thought about coaches, and a lot of names were flung out there. But I thought about who's winning right now. The Bill Belichick's, the Andy Reid's, and I know that this is a young, hot culture. We look at Mike Zimmer, the success he's having in Minnesota. So I'm going to that route. That's the one that I believe in more so than going after the hot commodity, the quarterback developer, the guy that can do all of these things. A defensive mind, a guy that knows how to delegate power, and he's won at the highest level. Tony Dungy fits that criteria.
Fascinating to me. All right, Swagoo, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, my man, and we will see you next week. We look forward to that. In the meantime, we look forward to Dan Graziano taking a shot at Hembo. And I should point out that Graziano, Hembo called for you, all right? He wants you on this one. Which active quarterback has won the most games on Wild Card Weekend?
Easy, Dan. It's easy.
Bart Scott wanted me to say Joe Flacco, and I kind of like his thought process, but I'm going with a different AFC North quarterback. I'm going to say Ben Roethlisberger.
Okay, I feel like I need to come over for
Yes! I nailed it. He plays you, man.
I should have listened to Bart Scott.
Joe Flacco.
You allowed yourself to get talked out of it.
Bart said it first.
No, I talked him out of it.
Dan, what was that?
I talked him out of it.
Joe
We all just said it, the
Flacco,
group
What's
just said it.
Roethlisberger?
5-0 in his career
Wasn't even
on
close.
Wild
What a
Card
loser.
Weekend, and
What a
there was much rejoicing. Let's look
I'll get
ahead.
him next time.
Here's Keenan throwing near sideline, and it's caught by Stephon Diggs. Touchdown on the final play. Are you kidding me?
This will take a while to get over. He came up short.
3rd down and 10. Breeze from the gun. Takes the snap. Goes to the near side. Hit early. Where's the flag? Unbelievable no call.
Disappointing way to lose a game. They blew the call. We probably never get over it.
All right, this to me is a very interesting game. In New Orleans at home, a lot of people think they may be the best team in the sport, but this will be likely their only home game of these playoffs. And so they're ready for this game now against the Vikings, who, of course, come in with Kirk Cousins, and we all know the history of struggles there in big games. You spoke to Cousins yesterday. What was the conversation like?
Well, we talked about a few things. I mean, Dalvin Cook coming back for the Vikings is important, and, Kirk not wanting to criticize anybody who was replacing him, said, the familiarity, just knowing that he's been with us all year, knowing we can count on him. He said that makes a big difference. And then in terms of the rest of it, every time you talk to Kirk, everything's a referendum on Kirk, right? So it's like, he didn't want to get into it. He said, look, I haven't really read a newspaper or watched TV the last week, just focused on this game, getting ready for this game. They think their offense is in a good place. Obviously, the last time they played, it was not, but they think overall, that especially with Cook and Alexander Mattison coming back, that they have a chance.
Bart, what's the key to the game to you?
It's Dalvin Cook. I mean, because remember earlier in the season what the narrative was. He had to go apologize to Thielen and Diggs about playing so bad. And now what's happening is the play action. And you need play action. You need to be able to establish a run. Dalvin Cook has really struggled since he hurt his shoulder. I think he hasn't had a 100-yard game in the last 4 contests. If he comes back, if he's healthy and he can establish the run, it allows Kirk Cousins to get out of the pocket so he can be safe, and he's better at throwing the ball on the move.
Bobby, give me a matchup you have an eye on.
This is one that it's going to be a matchup for everybody. Big physical corner, someone you think would be able to stop Michael Thomas, but Xavier Rhodes has not played well this year. Second highest completion percentage when targeted, and he's going to be faced with can't guard Mike. And I can sit here and give you all the superlatives of what he's done this season, but he's had the best single season of any receiver in NFL history, and Xavier Rhodes is going to be tasked most likely with trying to stop him. In the past, I would have liked this matchup. I do not like it for the Minnesota Vikings.
And I saved the Saint for last here, Philma. Who do you have your eye on?
I'm looking at Drew Brees because, yeah, right. I'm looking at Drew Brees because it's really when you go position group by position group, it can sway one way or another, Minnesota or New Orleans. And then where there's a glaring difference is at the quarterback position. And that's the most important position on the field. So I'm watching Drew Brees, who's been there, done that. He's had a phenomenal year, NFC Player of the Month this past month. And then you're going against Kirk Cousins, who still can't win a game. Just go back to the Green Bay game 2 weeks ago on Monday night. You're like, what the hell was that, Kirk Cousins? I mean, it's just not good football.
Listen, I'm a big fan of the Vikings, and I'm a big fan of their coach, and they're a good team. But there would be nothing that could happen in this year's postseason, practically nothing, that would surprise me more than if they win this game in New Orleans. With the Saints' history and everything else that's happened there, I don't know that they're making it back to the Super Bowl, though I think I would pick them. But if they lose this game, their one game at home, I really would be surprised. These guys will make their official